Hey, what's up? Welcome to episode number 10 of Yo, That's Weird with me, Sonia Z, and my wonderful, hilarious, amazing guest, the very funny Chip Chantry.
Sonia, thank you for having me on your anniversary episode. I know you waited to get the big guns on for the big 1-0, and
Yeah,
I'm here to deliver. I'm here. I'm on edge. I hope I bring the goods.
double digits. The
Hmm.
viewers are going to be judging very harshly. And like when a
Yeah,
little kid turns 10, got to watch out.
yeah, yeah. It's you're gonna be a teenager soon, Sonia, and we want to make sure we do this right.
Yeah. And well, that's interesting. I feel like it almost leads right into your first story. I normally do some how to do's with people, but when you
I'm doing
were
just fine. I have nothing to report, Sonia.
okay.
I just small talk. The weather's nice. I'm tired and that's what you're dealing with right now.
All
So,
right. I mean, typical
you know.
old person answer. It's fine.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. My knee hurts. It's gonna rain tomorrow. You know.
You sound like my grandma. It's cool.
Right? Right.
Um, so your story is about a young male Chip,
Yes.
a 10-year-old Chip, perhaps.
Yep. Yeah, I was
Uh,
I was it was almost 10. It was a couple months. I was 9, gonna be 10 soon. But I became a man that day. I will tell you that much.
well, we know for the listeners, this Chip's topic is about the Cub Scouts.
Mhm.
So we're gonna hope you became a man, not in a back room somewhere with a Cub Scout leader alone. We're gonna hope it
Luckily
was
not. Luckily not that way. This is the it was all emotional. The abuse was mostly mental.
just the head
So
trauma.
like you grew up in Philly, right? In the Philly area?
Philly area, yeah.
Yeah. So I did too. And I had a very nice childhood, just suburban working class,
Hmm.
regular, very nice childhood. Everything, parents great, got a little brother, fun, everything's good. But like growing up when I did in the 80s, as I date myself, like there were so many bad things that happened around us in Philly and then like nationally too that we were just exposed to like at too much of a young age. It was just in the news. Not that terrible things don't happen nowadays, obviously they do, but like it was just like every year there was something awful that we were just like move happened when I was in like second grade, like the move bombings in Philadelphia. You had the Challenger explosion happened when I still remember I was in third grade. We were at lunch and everybody was all excited about it. And they must have made the announcement, like we didn't see it on TV or anything, but we were all excited about it. And we're at lunch and all the teachers are kind of like huddled up in the corner talking. You can tell they're like upset about something. And we said to I swear to God, her name was Mrs. Kaiser, this old lady who was the no nonsense cafeteria lady who just was
Okay.
just like she was basically just like a retired lady that lived down the street that would just yell at you if you were bad in the cafeteria. But she was the best. But she was just no nonsense. And we're like, Mrs. Kaiser, what's going on? And she's like, oh, the Challenger blew up. And where everybody got quiet and like little like blonde haired, 8-year-old, you know, big eyed Chip Chantry was like, she was like, they blew up, it blew up. And I was like, Will, are they okay? That's what I said. And she
You-
literally just like laughed at me. She's like, no, they're not okay. They're dead. It just walked away. And that's how I found out. So it was like, and then you had Bud Dwyer happen
oh yeah.
when we were at home on a snow day. Like I saw that happen live when I was in fourth grade. All these things happen. So getting to my story, also in fourth grade, I was 9 and I was in the Cub Scouts with, a bunch of my buddies. There was about 8 of us. And you know how the Cub Scouts works. Like there's like a den mother and you go over to that kid's house every Tuesday afternoon or whatever. And you do arts and crafts and other activities or whatever it is, and that's that. And then you have like a pack meeting or whatever once a month, something like that. So our group of kids was like we were just rowdy. We were just rowdy kids, and none of the moms or dads wanted to take responsibility for us. So they had to decide that instead of just having a den mother, the one that would just suck it up, we just had rotating den moms. So every month we went to a different house. So like my parents had us for a month, and then my friend Dan had it for a month, and my friend Tony had it for a month, and like they just had to deal with it for like 4 weeks, and that was it. And my dad didn't want to deal with this at all. So he was like, "Look, they're going to just destroy the place. We don't, it's, let's just take them on field trips. We'll take them on field trips, and then they're not going to like be ripping the house apart. So we went on a couple different field trips. The most memorable one, though, was my dad had a friend who worked at KYW Channel 3 at the time, before 3 and 10
Sure.
switched over. He worked at the TV station, and he got us a tour, and it was apparently like a VIP tour, because there was like 8 or 10 of us. It was a small group, and we had this young guy, very nice, who took us on a tour through KYW studios. So we go down to Philadelphia. It's my mom and my dad and me and the other Cub Scouts, who again, we were like 9, 4th grade, and then my brother, who was in 1st grade, came with us. And we're just these like, fresh faced little kids, like looking to see how the news works and all this fun stuff. So he's just this guy. He's just walking us around. It's in the afternoon, so it's like 3 p.m. Whatever. We got out of school a little bit early, and we're down there, and he's like, so this is the anchor desk, and then this is this, and he's just like showing all this stuff. And then we're gonna see a live broadcast of how it works. So it just so happens that, like, oh, what's in the news today? It's like President Reagan came to town, or like whatever. It just happened to be the day, it was in, I believe, April of 87, that the Gary Heidnik story broke. And are you familiar with Gary?
I don't know what his perpetrations were.
Yes. Perpetration, very, very nice word to use for some horrible, horrible things. So I feel like I'm not usually like this, but I feel like I have to give a trigger warning. Like, this dude was a serial killer, and from Philly's own Gary Heidnik.
Go birds.
Go birds. His character, the character of why am I Hannibal Lecter from Silence of the Lambs, was partially based on Gary Heidnik, like keeping the
Oh,
girl in the well.
okay.
Philly's own Gary Heidnik was partially and there was a couple of, I think, like Ed Gein and a couple other people, but they modeled Hannibal Lecter off of Gary Heidnik. So
Wow.
Gary Heidnik was this dude. I won't get into the whole story, but like troubled dude his whole life, whatever, had all these issues. And then right around Thanksgiving of 86, he had this house in North Philly somewhere that I believe since has been torn down.
Okay.
But he kidnapped this woman in November of 86. And by February of 87, he had kidnapped 4 other women and like basically kept them like chained in his basement. And he even had this like pit that he dug in the basement. And I'm not going to get into all the details. You can go to Wikipedia, go wherever, and see
Sure.
the horrifying details. But like he tortured these women. He electrocuted them. So out of the 6, 2 of them passed away. So he murdered 2 of them. And this apparently didn't happen, but he like tried to dispose of their bodies and like cut them up and everything. This was a story that happened that apparently didn't happen, but the rumor got out that he was like basically cooking them and like feeding them to the other, like it's just horrible, horrible, crazy stuff, right? So long story long, we are 9-year-old kids finding out about this before the general public does. So we're just these little Cub Scout. We're like in our Cub Scout uniforms walking around. And
Yay!
right, like, hey, this is how the news works. It's like, here's how they do the weather. And the guy was like mortified. And because like since we had like the VIP access, as my dad had a friend there, we could go to play, like it wasn't just like walk through, like we were in the newsroom.
Yeah.
And I still literally remember there was a guy with like, it was from a movie, like one of the reporters in the newsroom, he had like 2 phones on this shoulder and like 2 phones on this one, and starts screaming. He had 4 of them and he cooked 2 of them. And then he's like, he threw them in a well, and he's like, oh, just, yeah. And like the guy's like, should we get these kids out of here? Like he just felt like, he's like, we're traumatizing these children. And of course, my dad was like, no, they got to learn about the news. Like my dad didn't give a shit. He's like, let them learn. They need to learn. This is what's going to happen. And so we found out before the general public did. It's like 4 p.m. and the news is coming out at 5. of the most maybe the most horrific story in Philadelphia history. We're just getting as 9-year-olds, just totally. And on top of that, to add some Philadelphia lore to any Philadelphia historians out there, there was an anchor or a reporter, I think it was an anchor on KYW in the 80s, Jerry Penacoli. Do you remember Jerry
I remember that
Penacoli?
name. Yeah.
Yeah. So Jerry Penacoli, who I think he later on, I don't know if he still does, I think worked for like the E
Okay.
network. Um, I believe he was gay and like was closeted or whatever. It's the 80s, of course,
It's
right?
the 80s.
Uh, a crazy rumor went around Philadelphia about Jerry Penacoli. It's the same Richard Gere rumor about gerbils and where he would put
Ah.
them. And it was like, and like so much so that like we were in third and fourth grade when this went around. So like we like made like there was jokes about it all the time. And this poor guy who did nothing wrong, but somehow got this like rumor thrown at him, and was basically, I think, like kind of almost forced to leave Philadelphia because like nobody would take him seriously, even though he was like a great reporter and everything. We met him, and like he came out and was like, "Hey guys, I'm Cherry Payton," and literally like one of the kids like, "Isn't that the guy who put hamsters in his butt?" Like, and like, I mean, it was the most horrific day. It's supposed to be just such a nice day. And by the way, that guy Jeremy was like the sweetest guy and was like talking to all of us, and he was, I think, the big anchor at the time, like showing us all of these like cool things, took some time with us, was the best guy, like was just like super sweet. And you just feel terrible that all those rumors happened about him. So then my my den had to go to the big pack meeting that month in front of like it's like 100 Boy Scouts, and give a presentation about what we learned at at the TV station. And like we're practicing it. And my mom, she's like, "You can't say that. You can't. You're not allowed to." We're like, "This is what we learned." And like literally, I remember it wasn't Elvira, but it was like, I think Elvira is like Elvira, the horror
I
host,
know
like,
Elvira. I'm an
of course,
Elvira
right? There
person.
was another one, Stella. Stella was the Philadelphia version of Elvira. Like Elvira was the big one, and Stella
Oh.
was like the local
National
Philly
versus local horror
knockoff
mistress.
horror mistress, right? So we got to see her set. Like she basically, like, I remember like she would record her things like from her bed, and it was like Stella's bed, and it was like, I don't know if it came to life or whatever, but like it was in this little closet of a studio where they and she would like throw to old horror movies. And so like most of our presentation was just about her and the bed, because it was literally the only thing that we learned about that day that wouldn't horrify and traumatize the rest of the Cub pack from Norristown, Pennsylvania.
Yeah. In case anyone wanted to know Chip's comedian origin story, it's a trauma at a young age.
There is, and this is the honest God truth, and I can't find it. We found it years ago, a decade or so ago. There was a study that somebody did, some grad school like psychology study, where they did a survey basically, and they it was like about people's senses of humors. And it was this whole survey of like what your type of sense of humor was, and the type of jokes you tell, and the types of humor that you like.
Okay.
And they had compared different age groups, and then people from different regions of the country. Okay. So it was like, baby boomers, Gen Xers, or like these ages or whatever, and then people from New York, people from Chicago, people from Philly. And by far in this study, Philadelphia residents that are like my age, basically like within like a 5-10 year gap of me, had by far, like, it was like notable that it was like we had the darkest sense of humor of anybody. And they're like, it's probably because they saw horrible things like every night on the news. Not, and again, not that it does happen, but like we just, as children, we just got hit by so much. And like, and literally, and like, this is just how my dad and all of our dads dealt with it. Like, the Challenger happened. We heard about it, and then we went home and we saw it explode on TV like 20 times on the news.
Yep.
And then just like our dads would call each other the next day with like 20 Challenger jokes, It's the last thing that Krista McCullough, blah, 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 blah. And so it's like, that's how we all learned from our dads. Like, that's how they deal with, that's their defense mechanism for trauma or any kind of,
Yeah.
bad news or anything. It's like, oh, just make fun of it. Like, let the Bud Dwyer jokes roll, because that's that's instead of like talking about it, being like, well, this is the thing, or like, kind of, it's like, no, we just need to make fun of it. And so that's exactly where I got my humor from. 100%.
I think you're probably right, and about the exposure to those news stories at such a young age, because my brother and sister on my dad's side grew up in like Western Pennsylvania. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
country territory. The
sure.
only news out there is just, okay, it's gonna snow tomorrow. The pig farm downtown's got free bacon, like whatever. You know what I mean? It's like the
Yeah.
most banal stories. And for the time when there was no internet news yet and no like CNN cycles, the beginning, like early stages of that, it was just like, okay, you sat down and you watched the news with your family before whatever sitcoms or dinner or whatever you did for the day. And you're all just sitting there like, yeah, okay. And then it's like, serial killer, like, and just like, I don't know, for you to go see it live
Yeah.
as a kid, I feel like that number one breaks the illusion of like, oh, TV is just a show.
It's just fake.
It's
Yeah.
just the news too. Like with the news with a little kid's brain, you might like not think some of the things. It's like, oh, it's just TV. And then to have them yelling like, he did what?
Yeah. Oh, literally. It's like he boiled her head in a pot. Like, just
Jesus.
scream it. I'm just like, and it was it's like, and it was, I think it was like so traumatic that we just thought it was, again, we just thought it was funny, because it's like, you're 9, you can't really exactly wrap your head around about what's happening, but it's just like, oh, it's just crazy. And what it's like, it's cartoonish how horrific it was, and so like, I think it hit us later of like how crazy we're like, okay, yeah, tell us something nuts. And that was it was a fun time. But oh, by the way, I think it's still there. Do you know the bar National Mechanics down
I
in
know
Old
of
City?
it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great bar. I think it's still there.
I
It's
think it's still there.
yeah, it's on like 3rd Street, like 3rd and by Market. And they had these really cool uh pint glasses. And it, like the etching on it, not the etching, but like, how they,
The
have the
design.
word, the design on it. It would say like National Mechanics. And then there would be like an oval with like an old school portrait of a famous Philadelphian in it. So like, they had a Ben Franklin one, and this is funny now too, a Bill Cosby one, and like
Yeah, what's
I
that worth on eBay?
can you imagine, right? And like, I want to say maybe they had like a Dr. J one, and like,
Okay.
it was just like famous historic Philadelphians, but they literally had a Gary Heidnick one, like it was like his mugshot. And people would steal them all the time. So then they were just like, please don't steal our pint glasses. We'll sell them to you for $5. So
Yeah.
one year for Christmas, I got my dad a Gary Heidnick pint glass.
That's awesome. I had friends that had like a metal hardcore band back in the day, and the name was Heidnick.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's great. We have our one cat. His name is Gary, and that's partially why
Part of his name.
why
I
he
like
yeah.
that. I like when pet names have a sinister meaning.
Yes, yeah, a little something. Yeah. So yeah,
um
so that is why my mind is
I
a
get it.
little
I
screwed up.
think I struggle with having a very dark sense of humor because I saw a lot of dark stuff on TV a lot because I was left
Yep.
alone a lot. My mom was like always working nights and just watch whatever I wanted
Yeah.
and just see these things. I've been doing jokes about Bezos going into space on stage,
Yeah.
and I bring up that they were gonna at one point. I think NASA's like bullshit because they were gonna put Big Bird in the Challenger. Did you know that?
Oh, that's 100. That's 100% true.
Yeah.
It's. I heard it on the. I think it's in the.
It's in the
There was
Carol
that.
Jenny
The
documentary or
yes,
whatever his name is, Big
yes.
Bird guy.
Yeah. Carol Spinney, I think his name is. Yeah,
It's
something like
something
that.
like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever.
And but yes, because like everybody was excited about space. They walked on the moon, and like,
Space
the
race.
world would shut down and watch it. And then I guess through the 70s, like people are like, yeah, we went to the moon a few times. Nobody gives a shit anymore. So look, kids weren't interested in space, so they were like, we need to do something to like get them excited again. And they were like, let's send Big Bird to space. And they were a few months into it, and they realized that just the big bird, and it was going to be Carol Spinney himself. Like, it wasn't going to be one of the astronauts
No, it was
in the,
him.
it
Yeah.
was him. He was going to go to space. And they realized that the suit just took up too much space.
Too
And they're like,
too big.
yeah. So
Like
they're just like, we'll
NASA.
get a teacher set. Like, can you imagine Big Bird exploding?
No,
And
I
it
always say like
just,
that the yellow feathers just flying out everywhere.
it's just, oh my
Like,
God.
it's a cartoon in my mind, but that's how dark my humor is. It's like this
Yes.
poor man that was a beloved child's figure. If they were like, if they had asked him and like definitely he was like ready to do it, and if that suit fit, he would have
Yeah.
went up and he would have been scorched.
And then what, like Big Bird, they would have, there would have been another Mr. Hooper situation there, just except way more explodey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a good time to bring up maybe the article that I found relating to your story. A couple articles here. I
Okay.
have
Yeah.
two different ones. Um, let me go to my share screen here. The first one's lighthearted. We'll pull it up. And we got 10 weird Boy Scout badges we're kind of glad are discontinued.
Oh my God. This is amazing.
Yeah. I don't know if you had gotten any badges when you were there.
I
Probably.
like a handful. I'm sure I should have gotten some sort of emotional badge when I was there. And then,
Yeah.
and by the way, I think most of our Boy Scouts, we quit the next year because it was like we went into like the Weeblos or whatever, and it was just like super boring. And we're just like, we're out of here. So
Yeah.
that was,
Yeah.
it was one of my swan songs was that trip
Yeah.
to the news station.
My stepson was a brownie, and I don't think we can say that anymore.
No, I don't think we're allowed.
All right, so let's see. Aspiring Eagle Scouts no longer sew these patches onto their merit badge sashes, much to the chagrin of taxidermists and almond farmers everywhere. Nut culture. I don't know.
I mean,
It's just a bad
just
name.
just that name and then the photo itself, neither of them should be anywhere near children
No,
at all.
no, nut
That's incredible.
culture. It's like not about these nuts. It's just
Nope.
about how to raise legumes. All
Yeah.
right. Masonry. I don't know if it has to do with the Freemasons or not, or union workers. They got the rat out there outside of the Boy Scouts.
Yeah. Just a bunch of scab Boy Scouts breaking the line.
You know, stonework wasn't as important as it used to be.
Just a bunch
Consumer
of Cub Scouts with
buying.
bad backs. Yeah.
Yeah. They got the back like brace thing on that you go it goes around your waist. Uh
Just a bunch of Cub Scouts on disability.
yeah. Consumer buying.
Oh my God.
Let's see here. They never condoned purchasing actual human shoppers. That's a separate
Oh,
issue. This
goodness.
merit badge aims to help young men become astute, thrifty customers, which that's still not a thing. So they
It just looks like the Richie Rich insignia
does look
too.
like the Richie Rich.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were like, I don't know, I guess they could cut it out with the consumerism in the Boy Scouts. We're supposed
Yeah.
to be green and clean here. Oh, the ancient art of bookbinding. Well,
Oh, sure.
I mean,
Yeah, I had number of badges in bookbinding. I mean, when you think of Cub Scouts, you think binding books.
bookbinding for sure. 1987, right after you would have been there.
Yeah, man, I just missed it.
Damn, you missed it. You missed it by a day, a
Yeah,
year. What
well, it
else
looks
do we
like a
have
dead
here?
coyote. Whatever's happening there.
Stalking. Let's see. Let's see what stalking is. It looks like a dead coyote or a dead dog, honestly. Uh, Requirements include identifying assorted animal footprints, tracking a creature for 1/4 of a mile, and photographing some of the beasts you've silently followed. So it was teaching kids how to be serial killers, basically.
Just like sitting outside of somebody's picture window at night. Like this is just stalk. Oh, would you get a merit badge in today? Stalking.
Stalking.
Oh
Let's see here. General science. Well, we know no one believes in that.
no, that's fake.
Astronomy, geology, microbiology, and meteorology, but those all have their own category now. That's okay. We like that.
I will say this. I remember the next year in fifth grade, I was in the Weeblos or whatever. And for like a month, we just sat in a classroom in this elementary school where one of the dads read from a book about geology and about like all the different types of rocks.
Sure.
And like all of us were like, yeah, we're out. Like this is boring. And like I remember the one other dad was like, Chip, stick with it. It gets more fun. Trust me, it's boring right now, but we're gonna go do more fun stuff. And I was like, no, I'm out. And that was this is the badge that I was like, nope, I'm not doing this anymore.
I'm not. I don't want this microscope. Get it out of my
No,
face.
I do not.
All right, let's see what's next. Dairying. Oh, the art of
Oh,
churning butter. uh, this was elements of this merit badge merged with five others: sheep raising, hog farming, to form the animal science badge in 1975.
I mean, back in the days, you had a lot more farmers.
You know,
Hmm.
there was a lot. The only butter churning going on now in the Boy Scouts is when the leaders take you in those back rooms. I don't know.
Exactly. Putting
Blacksmithing.
up those tents. Blacksmithing. Okay. I mean, there's something. Give a tween a hot poker and a hammer.
And a rod. uh, this badge, eliminated in 1952, required boys to forge a chain hook out of 3/4 by 1/2 inch soft steel or 3/4 inch round iron. We're just assuming kids worked out more before 1952. I like that joke they have in there.
I and I will say this was not Boy Scout related, but when I was in seventh grade, we had metal shop and we had to make a dustpan, like just like
Oh,
a metal dustpan.
okay.
And it was out of sheet metal, but then you had to have the handle. And literally we had to like hold the handle, put it over fire, and bang it out. And it like you would put it literally to get the steel rod like red hot, literally, and then bang it out so
With
it
this.
curl around. And I'm like 12 or whatever, and it slipped because you have it in these tongs, and it slipped, and I just, it's instinct.
Reflex.
I just grabbed it and just melted the inside of my hand. So
Destroyed
I
it.
I'm surprised I don't have a scar there, but like for like months I just had just a
Oh my
red stripe
God.
across my hand.
You are an X-Men, Chip. That's
I
fucking
really, yeah.
insane. That's one of
Hmm.
your superpowers.
It's like
Uh
stigmata.
yeah. It's the opposite.
Yeah.
um, let's see here. Cotton farming. We're not gonna go there right
Yeah,
now.
that seems I don't want to touch that one at all.
It's February. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Skiing. Mm,
Oh, that's the rich kids
that's just you
Cub
read the
Scouts right there.
took the words right out of my mouth. The badge for only the wealthy Cub
Yeah.
Scouts.
Yeah.
Um, let's
Oh,
see.
oh,
Oh,
what's the next one? Go a badge for getting my going to my dad's house in the Hamptons. Is that the next one?
yeah.
Kidding me?
uh, oh, and that was it.
That's
It just end of the
I
end of
mean,
the end of the line there.
I would go for a lot of those badges today.
Yeah. Um, I do have another story that I would
Okay.
like to bring up, but I think
Yeah.
we're gonna have to take a quick break.
Okay.
We'll log back on with I'll give you a little teaser here. Uh Boy Scouts, notorious criminals who were Boy Scouts.
I'm in. I'm in.
All
I
right.
am psyched.
All right.
Very excited.
Hold on, let me stop my share here real quick. And we're back from the break with Chip Chantry and our tales of Cub Scout lore here. And we're going to go right into an article I found about notorious criminals who were Boy Scouts.
I'm so excited about
I
this.
had no idea until I was looking for your story and something to let's see here. It
Hmm.
says, "Are you surprised?" Let's take a look at this list.
I mean, Boy Scouts can tie knots. I mean, that's something.
It's listen, they're training them.
Yeah.
We saw in the previous article. Sorry, it's got me all choked up.
I know. It's
Um,
heavy stuff, Sonia. Heavy
yeah,
stuff.
we saw in the previous article that there was masonry and all kinds of iron making things that would make young boys big and strong enough to commit murders.
Yes.
Many. So let's see. Oh, first on the list, very famous Ted Bundy.
Hmm.
He was involved with his local Boy Scout troop when he was younger. It doesn't say too much, but he's one of the ones on the list there. Dennis Rader, also known as the BTK killer, was a
BTK.
member.
Speaking of tying knots.
Exactly. And he was a member and a troop leader. So he knew those knots like the
Okay.
back of his hand.
And I'm sure he was very good at stalking as well.
He definitely stalked. He pled guilty to murdering 10 people and has received 10 life sentences for his crimes.
He's one of my favorite creeps. He is a.
He's very like he looks his just appearance is like
Mhm.
one of those people you're like, I'm not judging you, but I'm judging you.
Exactly. And like
Eh,
he's one of those guys where it was like, no, I never expected it. It's like, how can you not
yeah,
expect it from this man?
it's a classic who him like Rainey used
Hmm.
to always post on
Exactly.
Charles Whitman. Oh, he was the sniper at the University of Texas.
Oh, right. Yeah.
He was previously a member of the U.S. Marines and one of the youngest people to ever earn his Eagle Scout status. He was really out
Good,
there.
good for him, I guess.
Yeah, he was very diligent. He's got that strong military cut.
He does, yeah.
uh, H.R. Haldeman. I'm not familiar with H.R.
Oh,
Bob
wasn't he one of
Haldeman.
Nixon's guys?
Oh, yeah, President Richard
What did he
Nixon's
do?
chief of staff.
Oh, he's okay.
Involved in the Boy Scouts in North Hollywood, which we know what North Hollywood is famous for.
Yep.
A lot of gay porn, for those of you that don't know. A lot of porn in general, but through his childhood and adolescence. Oh, he had so many molestations under his
He
belt.
and look at he's got the same haircut too.
He's got
He's
that
got that
haircut,
same like
the military
military.
high and tight.
Yep.
Always like the police hair,
Mm-hmm.
strong
Yeah.
police hair. He
But
was
yeah,
convicted
he
of
was Watergate.
yeah, perjury, conspiracy, and obstruction of justice in the Watergate scandal.
Yeah, the tape recording merit badge you got.
That's a good one. They discontinued that one, I think. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, back in 73.
And now that there's cell phones, they changed it to voicemails.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. Arthur Gary Bishop, former honor student, Mormon missionary, and Eagle Scout. Arthur Gary Bishop murdered 5 boys, sexually abusing some of them between not only some, only the hot ones.
Just some. Yeah.
Between 1979 and 1983. He
He's
died
not a
by,
complete monster, is what you're saying.
he was selective about who he abused.
I don't know
Um,
this guy either. I know my serial killers, and
I
I
don't
don't
know
remember
him.
this guy.
I don't know him. He died by lethal injection on June 10th, 1988.
88. But
Okay,
by the way, actually, another, if I can say it, another horrible thing that happened when I was in second grade. And again, it's like I was, Montgomery County, like outside of Norristown, like,
sure.
just a little town. On, I think it was Palm Sunday, there was a guy who, I was in second grade at the time, and there was a girl in my school who's in fourth grade, and she had a sister who was in like sixth grade, and it was an estranged father, and the mom and the two daughters, the sixth grade girl and the fourth grade girl, came out of church on Palm Sunday, and in the church parking lot, the guy was waiting for them and just capped off all three of them. Bang, 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 killed all three of them.
Yikes.
Right? Horrible, horrible story. And to this day, I remember this because he was going to die by or by the electric chair. He's one of the last guys, he was going to die by the electric chair. And I remember kind of being a little scared about this story. Like, wow, this guy shot this girl in my school, and three people. And it was my dad or my uncle was like, we're watching the news, and uh, I was like, oh my god, that's kind of scary. Like I was in second grade, and he's like, oh, you don't have to be afraid of him. He's going to the electric chair, and then I was like, what's the electric chair? And then they told me the electric chair, and it was way scarier than a guy shooting three people.
Way
Like
scarier.
then I had nightmare one night about this guy, and then I had electric chair nightmares for the rest of my life.
Yeah, you're like literally 3 times a week. You're calling your therapist. Like, I had it again. I was
Yes.
strapped in,
Yes.
shaking and shitting myself.
Yeah, I can deal with shootings. Electric chair. No.
Shooting's relatively normal. You're just mad at someone. You want to take them out.
Right.
I get it. Anger issues. All right, let's see here. Mark Hoffman. I'm not familiar with him.
No.
Them. No photo. That's how scary they are. A scam
Yeah.
artist, forger, and murderer was an Eagle Scout during his formative years. In 1985, he pled guilty to 2 second-degree murders, which killed 2 victims with pipe bombs.
Okay.
Was sentenced
Interesting.
to. It's not really a serial killer. That's just like
Uh, Another Utah guy too.
yeah.
Just like
My
that
friend
last
was
dude.
stationed in the Air Force out there. I get it.
Yeah.
He only got 5 years to life in prison.
Wow.
Not that great. John Edward Robinson. I'm not up on my serial killer lore.
No, I don't know him either.
Serial killer John Edward Robinson became an Eagle Scout in his youth and was a volunteer scoutmaster, of course. He looks like one in the face.
Yeah.
He committed crimes including fraud, theft, and embezzlement before being charged with 6 counts of murder in 2002. He is suspected in the deaths of additional missing women and is currently in prison in Missouri, where he sits on death row. Now, this article I think was about 4 or 5 years old, so I don't know
Okay.
if he's still around.
Yeah.
Illinois, another boring ass.
Yep.
Cicero, isn't that
So
where the Better Call Saul? I think they reference
I think so.
Cicero in that. Kevin Trudeau.
Wait, I know this guy. Who is
I know
this
this guy. I read his book.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I read one of his books. A Boy Scout as a kid who never made it to Eagle, Kevin Trudeau became an author and infomercial entrepreneur as an adult, repeatedly in trouble with the law for fraud. he was sentenced to 10 years in federal prison. He never killed anybody. He would get in trouble and talk about it in his book how the government would call him a whistleblower and all kinds of
Really?
stuff about health cures.
Wait,
His
did he
one
write this book like after he was in prison?
The book I read was in no, it was no, because it's 2014 it says here.
Okay.
I read that book in the early 2000s, I think. It's
Okay.
called Natural Cures They Don't Want You to Know About.
Okay.
And it was just like opposite of Western medicine stuff, which is like
Uh,
widely accepted now, but back then
sure.
it was
Yeah.
like don't tell people you can eat vegetables to cure some of your diseases. That's not how it works here in America. You have to take
Yeah.
pills and
Hmm.
shots and surgeries. We cannot possibly eat apples and salad sometimes.
God no.
Gavin Stevens, let's see, young
Oh,
man
he's a
here,
young guy.
age 25, born 1996. Okay, he's
Wow.
newer on the list.
Yeah.
Eagle Scout Gavin Stevens pled guilty to 2 counts of first-degree assault in a drug deal gone wrong in 2013 when he was nearly 18 years old. He was sentenced to 8 years in prison for his crime. So not a murderer, just
No.
killed someone almost.
You know
He
what?
did,
I feel like drug dealers get a bad name because they never report when drug deals go right.
you
You
know,
know what I mean?
when
It's
the
all
when
only the ones that go wrong.
when someone
There,
just gets 3 pounds of weed or 3 kilos of
right,
coke
and it
and they're
slips in the money.
just
Like I'm
happy.
sure Gavin had a lot of drug deals gone right that
Yeah,
nobody's giving him credit for.
not it doesn't deserve it. Honestly, it looks
Nope.
like he could be reformed. He's got the newer version of the high and tight.
Yeah, he could be. Yes, he could be. Definitely, there's boy band potential in this kid.
Boy band slash murderer. All
Yeah.
right. Clark Fredericks. In 2015, Clark Fredericks was sentenced to 5 years in prison for killing his former Boy Scout leader. Okay, he's
Full
on the
circle,
opposite side
baby.
of history.
Yeah.
Said that he was sexually abused by him between the ages of 8 and 12 years old. I mean, that's just justice, my friends.
Yeah. I mean, that's a little iffy, but like it kind of brings it around.
Yeah, it's a shame you
Wow.
can't kill your abuser.
No, no.
It's New Jersey, New Jerseyan.
You think Jersey would let them do it? Like just like slip in the Pine Barrens, you know?
Honestly, there's
It'd be
enough
cool.
land out there. You just like, all right, we're gonna let this
Hmm.
one go.
Yeah. Actually, Gary Heidnick, that guy that I was talking about, I
Yeah,
believe he dumped one of his victims in the Pine Barrens.
I was
Yeah.
just talking about that the other day because I was telling someone that I was talking to like from Virginia Beach about the New Jersey beaches,
Hmm.
and I was like, yeah, I don't know. Virginia Beach is like just one spot. You're just there. But Jersey has all that land leading up to it. It's all
Yeah.
suburbs around Virginia Beach. But New Jersey is like that area where you just have like those fire roads that dip off between pine trees.
Yes. It's just creepy.
Um, my friend's husband, when we were younger, before phone GPS,
Hmm.
okay, they were going to a wedding in some part of Jersey, and on the way back, they got turned around. They ended up running out of gas on the side of the road.
Oh man.
And so my friend's husband, he goes, "All right, here, you sit here in the car, lock yourself in with your cell phone, like Nokia brick cell phone, like you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I'll call you. I'm going to walk and try to find a gas station." Now, he has no idea where he is. You know how those dark roads in Jersey go. You could be 25 or 125 miles from a gas
It's the
station,
middle of nowhere.
the middle of nowhere. So he starts walking. He's going for a truck, pickup truck pulls over, like, "Hey, buddy, you need help?" And my friend's husband's like, "Yeah, yeah, I'm just looking for a gas station, man." I broke down back there. And dude's like, "All right, get in the truck." Starts just driving like normal. All of a sudden, dips off to one of those fire roads. And my friend's husband's
No.
like, "Oh, what the fuck? Like, this is crazy." So he's like, "Just in there for a minute." Dude puts stops all of a sudden, like about 2 miles into one of them, puts the shit in park, puts his hand on my friend's husband's thigh.
Oh my
And my friend's
God.
husband is not only like very straight, he just obviously was like, "Okay, this is it."
Yeah.
And dude pulls out a knife
Oh
and
my
like
God.
is holding the knife like this. So my friend's husband just was like, "All right, just take me back to the main road. You don't even have to take me back to my truck. Just take me back to my
Yeah.
truck, please. I just want to get back to my wife." And the dude was like trying to like, get something going with him a little bit. And my
Yeah.
friend's husband just started punching the guy in the face, just
Jeez.
just jawing him till the dude's
Yeah.
all bloody and stuff. And then was just my friend's husband's a psycho too. He just sat back in his chair. He said, and was just like, "All right, now take me back to my truck." And the dude took him back. He stayed in the car with them
Oh
and
my
took him back and
God.
didn't kill him.
Ladies and gentlemen, New Jersey,
New
New Jersey.
Jersey. So, continuing on here with the list, Tyler Hadley, former Boy Scout Tyler Hadley, had beat his parents to death with a hammer in 2011 when he was 17 years old. He went on to
Probably
invade
from
his
that woodworking badge. Yeah.
he put that thing together between the
Mm-hmm.
woodworking badge and the iron workers badge,
Yep.
the the melding badge. He built that thing out of his hands. He was just proud of his work, and I bet his parents were like, "I don't care, get the fuck upstairs," or whatever.
Yeah.
He went on to invite his friends to a party at his home with his parents' bodies upstairs.
Oh my God.
He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for the murders.
He was 17. Can you imagine being in high school and then like you take a girl, like you're hanging out, you're like your girlfriend, we're like, let's go upstairs, let's sneak into one of
Like,
the rooms. Like, oh my God.
it's
Like
like
that.
she tries to go like lead you into your parents' bedroom, and you're like, "Hey,
Yeah.
and she just opens the door and like,
It's like occupied. Yeah.
like, oh, someone's in here. Looks like they
Oh,
had too much to drink."
I will say he is from Port St. Lucie, Florida. He's from Florida. So like if I'm at a house party in Florida, I'm assuming there's a dead body on the premises.
you
At
know,
least one.
you gotta just assume
Yeah.
somewhere in the yard, in the shed.
Yes.
Okay, who do we got next here? Gary Hurt, a 19-year-old Eagle Scout, was charged with killing 37-year-old Glenn Kapitsky in 2003 after a sexual encounter between the men allegedly enraged Hurt. He did not express remorse and was sentenced to at least 32 years in prison, age 33.
33.
I don't know if this is the
Wow.
rest of the article or if this is some other article here on Ranker. Oh, nope, that was the end of the article.
Ed Kemper. Yeah. Oh,
Ed Kemper,
that's
serial killer in waiting. So this is not a serial killer podcast. Today it is.
today it is.
I mean, that's
We're, we're, do-
weird. That's
we're
weird to
doing all
be
the
a
fun stuff.
serial
I love
killer.
it though. I love it.
Um, so I will move on to my favorite actually part of these. If you had any other stories, we could go on to stories, but I like to talk about weird snacks people like to eat, weird food.
Oh, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
What's one of yours?
Um, okay. I eat crackers with butter on them all the time.
Okay, that's interesting. I will say this. I appreciate that. What kind of cracker are we talking?
Um, Lately my grandmama has Ritz crackers,
Okay,
but when we were
nothing wrong
kids,
with that.
my stepmom would do saltines or
Hmm.
matzah.
Okay, yeah. I just had the greatest. I was at in my neighborhood a new like a bar, small plates place. It was like Portuguese. Grace and Proper just opened at
Okay.
8th and Carpenter in South Philly, and it's great. And it was one of like the little like I guess appetizer, small plate, whatever you want to call it. It was this just bread and butter, and it was just like the most delicious butter I've ever had in my entire life. It was amazing. And I am not something a little odd about me. I'm not a cheese guy. I do not eat cheese. I know the world loves cheese. I eat pizza. I love mozzarella. I love
Okay.
pizza, but other than that, hate cheese.
You
I've
know.
always hated it. I
Okay.
just I can't take it. So I'll take a butter on a cracker any day of the week.
Okay. You didn't
I
know
like that.
there was a new trend out recently, butter boards instead of charcuterie boards. It was just different kinds of butter, like
I'm in.
spread
I'm
out.
100% sold on that. I love
Uh,
I love a good butter.
I
Yeah.
I you I immediately tensed up when you said you don't like cheese because I do. I'm vegetarian for a long time, so cheese is one
Yeah.
way to get protein.
And
But
you gotta have it. And I'm aware that I'm in the minority. Like everybody loves cheese. I get it. I've just
yeah,
for whatever reason I've just never been able to. I
not
can't stand the smell of it. Can't
hmm,
do it. Yeah. It just
no
I
kinds, none.
uh like again mozzarella. Love pizza, but if it's like a
Sure.
4 cheese pizza, I'm out. But like any kind of
You're like
mozzarella, I'm
that's the
totally good
limit
with.
for me.
Yeah. Yeah. One's limit. I can deal with a little American cheese every once in a while. Like
Okay,
I don't
on a
like it.
sandwich or whatever.
Yeah, I don't like it, but like I can stomach it. But other than that, no, I just like I can't. Like you like nacho cheese or stuff like that. That makes me ill just
The
being around it.
the
I just
canned
can't.
kind, like canned
Oh,
cheese. I mean,
exactly.
that's
Ugh.
just mostly food coloring and viscous materials at that point.
I live in like right off the Italian market and like Claudio and DeBruno brothers. Like
Hmm.
I cannot step foot inside and I know they're like well-known gourmet, like very well respected. I can't step foot in them or I'm physically ill.
You're like wearing a mask still going in them.
Yeah, I could wear a mask. And it's horrifying.
That's
I'm trying to think of a weird snack for me. I One thing that my mom would give us when we were little, speaking of your snack, she would get either Cheerios or Honey Nut Cheerios and just melt some butter and just like mix like the melted butter and
Oh,
the Cheerios, and we like eat it with it as like a little snack. She would just give it like a little tiny bowl of it. And
oh,
that was like a snack that we would have when we were little kids, like at like watching a movie or something like that. That it was almost like buttered popcorn, but it
sure.
was like buttered Cheerios.
That
That
is
was a big
weird.
thing.
That's
Yeah.
weird. I need
So
someone to comment on this when I post it. If anyone
yeah,
has
does anybody
ever
do that? Is that just a
is
Mary Chantry thing,
is
or is
it
that
is just
was that a thing that happened?
another part of your comedian origin story of your childhood traumas
Just
of
buttered Cheerios.
buttered
Um, uh,
Cheerios. The honey nut sounds good. The honey nut kind of sounds good.
mhm. Yeah, I feel like it was Honey Nut. I feel like it was Honey Nut Cheerios.
Did you eat it with like a spoon out of a bowl or
Yeah, I think so. It was like a small bowl. It wasn't like she gave me like a big cereal bowl and used butter uh
because I
instead
thought
of
of like
milk.
when
I
you
probably
said
wouldn't be here today.
popcorn. When you said popcorn, I pictured it like a bowl of it and you're just like dogging it like just
No,
handfuls.
I feel like it was like a little, almost like a dessert bowl or something like that, and then just like just with
That's
I think with a spoon. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, that's my first really weird one that somebody has, I
Oh,
think, come
good.
on with. Besides maybe Seamus, but
Yeah.
that's like because your mom did it too. It wasn't like your
hmm
idea.
No, like she did it. I will, not that this is weird, but like I will eat any cereal any day of the week. Like if I had to just like pick one food that you know, could I have one food for I think it would be cereal. Like just like
Cereal.
any just sugary cereal, just fun. Like I love cereal more than anything else.
I'm a big fan of buying the weird, like limited edition sweet cereals as like a
hmm
snack that I'll eat just by with my hands
Yeah,
instead of like a Oreo or whatever. I get like
I I get
birthday
it.
cake
That's
donut flavor cookie crisp and stuff like that.
yes. Uh, so my dad worked in grocery stores his whole career. That's he worked in grocery stores as like different, it was like managed grocery stores. He was delivery guy, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And one of the perks of being a grocery store kid is that when the new cereal came to town, he would get it like a week before everybody else because they get it and they put it out. So he would bring home like strawberry honeycombs, and it's like the Chantry boys got the strawberry honeycombs, and it was the best. We'd have that. There was one. It was I forget the order of this, but I think it was C3PO cereal, from Star
Well,
Wars. And they were almost like to a certain extent, it was like almost like Honey Nut Cheerios, but they were like little, like basically like almost like number 8. Like it was like two loops together, right?
okay.
And that's what it was. And then a couple of years later, they came out with Kellogg's Pro Grain, which was going to be like their version of Wheaties or whatever, and it was
Okay.
good for you. And I remember it was about like the Ironman triathletes. That was like their kind of big thing. It was like for triathletes to eat, the best, athletes in the world. And it was just C3PO cereal that they just repackaged as something. But I loved it so goddamn much.
I feel like I
And
remember that and having it like one time.
mhm, I loved it so much. And then there was one called OJ's. Unfortunately, not Simpson. I wish OJ Simpson had his own cereal brand, but it was just this like guy with a beard. I think he had like a red beard, and it was just like basically he like picked oranges off the tree and then just threw them in the thing. So it was basically like orange flavored cereal. But
Oh,
and which sounds disgusting, but I remember it was the greatest thing in the
I
world.
think I remember seeing that like at the
Yeah.
store shopping with my mom as a kid, but I don't
Mhm.
believe we ever got that.
Yeah.
We had a box, my sister might still have it somewhere, of the Batman cereal that came out when the 1988 Batman with Michael Keaton was released.
Oh
We had a
yeah.
box of the cereal. Um,
That's so you have like the reminder of that.
yeah, I feel like it probably was just taste looked and tasted like any other corn cereal, like corn pops or whatever,
Of
but
course. Yeah.
Batman shaped cars or whatever, little Batman symbols.
This might be a little weird too, because you ask people like, "What's their favorite cereal?" Lucky Charms, go to.
Yeah.
Uh, I can handle Lucky Charms. I've never been a huge fan. I hate the marshmallows. That texture of them,
Oh,
unless you let the marshmallows get wet and soggy, then it's okay. But if they're dry, that it's like
oh, they're squeaky.
They're squeaky and it's like nails in a chalkboard. I can't
That's
do it.
funny because I only picked out the marshmallows as a kid, and they actually at the Amish market in Bristol sell the bag of marshmallows,
Just that's
just the
great.
marshmallows.
Yeah.
But uh, I've actually bought that recently too. That was one I bought because they started adding in all kinds of, I don't know, dildo shapes, whatever the hell they put in there
Of
now.
course. Yeah.
That's lucky for you. And I feel like I'll eat that by hand. That's when I'll eat dry.
Hmm.
I don't like a lot of the sweet cereals in milk. Like I don't eat it like that.
Okay. Yeah.
I eat it like it's tiny cookies.
Okay. I can do that, but I definitely like a milk. Or if I'm really just like and just I'm going on a bender, it's I'll just take a big cup, like even like a pint glass, and I'll just, fill it with the cereal, like Pops or something like that,
Sure.
and then just dump the milk in and just kind of like shotgun it, like drink it as a
Oh
drink. And it's
wow. I
just
don't
yeah.
think I've ever
It's
heard anyone say that before. It's
it's
like
just
boba
because
tea.
it is, yes, which
Which
again, weird texture thing for me. I'm not a
I don't
big
like
boba guy.
those. I don't like
No,
those.
I
But
can't
the
I can't do it.
cereal, especially corn pops, gives me that same vibe.
Yeah.
um
Oh, you know
uh,
what? Another thing I love, not that this is like super weird, but it's probably not that common. My mom usually makes it for me for my birthday. It's like my birthday cake every year is a Jello poke and pour cake.
don't.
Do you know what
That's
that
my
is?
birthday cake every year that I make my
No.
mom make me.
Are you
I
serious?
swear.
It's the best.
It's so good.
When is your birthday? What month is your birthday?
December.
Okay, mine's June. So okay.
Okay.
Um, it's that's it's the best. It's like the yellow cake. She
Yeah.
takes the yellow cake and then you, I
Poke
guess, cook
holes.
it
You bake it
mostly.
first, and then you take a
Yeah.
toothpick or whatever, a spoon, and like poke holes all around the whole thing. For those of you who have never had, I was just telling somebody about this recently because they were like, "What's that?"
No,
And
that's so
we
funny.
do. My request is always funfetti cake bottom,
Oh, okay.
and then whatever red Jello. It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah,
Red,
it's just red Jello. Yeah.
red, and
And
then
then is there a an icing?
just Cool Whip with like sprinkles on top.
That's the way to do it. Cool Whip's great. And you know what my mom will do sometimes? She'll use vanilla pudding as the top.
Ooh,
Yeah,
interesting.
it is great. It is
Wow,
great.
we're birthday cake soulmates,
Look at
Chip.
that. I'm so excited.
That's
I've
our
never
synchronicity.
heard of anybody else. You and me,
That's our
birthday
and
cakes.
special request for the birthday thing. Like I won't. I've never eaten one of those in my off time. Like I've never had
Yep.
been like just a random whatever holiday and had somebody be like, "Oh, I'm gonna make a Jello cake," but like my mom until she started to get like too old to do it, it was
Yeah.
Jello cake.
And I don't really celebrate my birthday. Like I've always hated my birthday. Like I just
A lot of
it's just
boys. This is not a gender thing, but a lot of boys I know are like that. They just could care less. Just like,
yeah, I
yeah,
don't, and I just like I don't like people looking at me when I'm not on stage. I don't want people looking at me. And
I
but
understand.
that's like the one thing my mom will, and she like doesn't even call it a birthday cake, but she's like, "Hey, it's June, and I made you a cake, so
Here's your
come on
cake.
over.
Here's a
Here's
cake
your
I
cake."
made you.
Yes,
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, I love that so much because I'm the same way. You know what I hate when I get the cringes when I have to watch like a woman friend of mine sit in the hot seat and open presents at like a bridal shower.
horrifying,
That's my worst
horrifying.
nightmare is have everyone just fucking staring at you and
Yeah,
like
I felt bad when we got married. Like my wife had to do that, and it was like very nice, and she
it's
appreciated everything
nice.
like that. But it's like she was just like, I don't think I can handle this. Like
It's a lot.
it's got to be a lot to do
It's
that.
a
And I didn't
lot.
even have speak of my wedding because like I'm just so like my wife had a bachelorette party, and so they had the shower, of course, and then you have the bachelorette party or whatever. And I did not have a bachelor party because I was just like, and my wife was like, have one, like go have one. And I was like, I don't
I
like,
don't
I don't
care.
want attention. I
Yeah.
can't do it. And so I think I just did stand up that night. Yeah.
I mean, I'm right there with you where being on stage to me isn't being stared at. It's doing something. It's
I'm
like
doing my job.
I'm doing something. I'm doing an act. I'm doing my performance. I'm doing my job. I'm getting paid. I'm whatever. But like to just sit there and be bestowed with gifts in that, like, I'm not a princess type of girl.
No.
Like, and then that makes me feel like just very like all eyes are on you. And like, you know how people can like read your face in 1 second if you don't like something with a gift, especially I'm so bad at being like, oh,
Hi, the
oh.
high pitched. Oh, this is
I
great. Thank you.
just may
I used to do that. I used to teach fourth grade, and your fourth graders a lot of times they would get you a like a Christmas present or whatever,
sure.
and like sometimes the teachers would like sit down and like open them in front of everybody or whatever, and like A, I'm not doing that because that's just horrifying for me. And B, then I always felt bad because it's like I had some rich kids in my class and I had some kids that like barely had anything. And it's like, I'm not gonna make them feel bad. So like I would always be like, oh, thank you. I'm gonna put it under my tree at home and then I'm gonna open them up on Christmas morning. And then like I would always write them like a thank you note or something like that. But
Yeah.
oh God, I
That's
can't do it.
that one's brutal because to have to open up like someone's mom who got you one of those nice like I don't know Starbucks with a mug and cocoa and like the basket that's like fifty
Whole thing.
dollars versus like just like one mug
A kid who made me
empty.
a bookmark. Yeah,
Yeah,
or whatever. Not that I don't
exactly.
appreciate
Like
that.
that was one of the projects in the class.
Yeah.
um,
Now, okay, let me ask you this. Before you did comedy, did you like doing that more, like as far as like getting attention, that type of thing? Because
no,
oh, you weren't like that. I was more like, I definitely remember like in my early 20s, I was just drunk all the time and I was an asshole and I was loud and
who wasn't?
I was at parties and like I wanted attention and I wanted to be the funny guy at parties. And now it's like, that is the last thing I want. Like, it's like, I just want to hide from everybody at a party.
Yeah,
Just
I was
sit in the
no,
corner and do my thing.
I was always like I one time it was my birthday, I was like 12, I think, and it was like just like my best friend at the time, my two sisters and my mom, and we went to Chi-Chi's. Do you remember Chi-Chi's?
Of course, the celebration of food, I believe, right?
Yes, the celebration of chain restaurant Mexican food, the first one of
Yes.
those. And
Did they have the fried ice cream?
they had the fried ice cream. It was
Yes.
so good. It was like the one with like the shell on top.
Yes. Yep.
Like because the a lot of like hibachi spots will do fried ice cream and stuff like that, but that's a soft shell. This was like the cinnamon churro, like crispy,
Yeah.
probably just the most processed oils and whatever, but it was so good.
Yeah.
I did get that, but they came out and first of all, they're coming out doing like, oh, like super loud coming out from the back of the restaurant singing in like a Spanish happy birthday style. And then they came and put a giant sombrero on my head that said like Chi Chi's on the front of it.
Of course.
And I think that started my being mortified of doing like having that attention because I've always been on stage since I was a little kid. I
Okay.
did talent show. I did like ballet and then talent shows and whatever. So I don't mind ever getting up and performing anything, dance, theater,
But that's the
whatever.
job. You're on the clock then.
I'm doing something. I was in plays, whatever. That's not to me. You're supposed to be there getting paid attention to. It's part of
Sure.
it. It's part of it. It's not. And I'm when I'm on stage, I'm just like I don't see anybody. I'm just like paying attention to what I have to do. And yeah, so then to just sit there and have the whole restaurant like looking over at you and singing along,
Hmm.
kind of clapping, it's like, oh no,
Horrifying.
horrifying, horrifying. More horrifying than being stalked by a Boy Scout, honestly. um Yeah. This has been really fun, Chip. Do you have any other fun stories or anything else you want to talk about, bring up while
Uh,
we're here?
um, I'm trying to think of like just like a real quick one. If I have oh, can I say this? This is like a 2 minute story.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I open for Todd Glass a lot. I'm gonna be open for Todd Glass next week at Helium.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
love Todd, and he brought me down to Washington D.C. It's like 2017, maybe. We were down in D.C. We were doing one night at the D.C. Improv, and then one night at the Kennedy Center. It was like a side room of the Kennedy Center, but I was going to open for him, and then we're doing I was going to be a guest on his podcast. So we're down for like 2 days in D.C. So he flew from L.A. I was driving down from Philly, and it was like 100 degrees that day. It was in the summer, and Todd got a suite, and of course, you know how it is. They get the headliner a room, but not me. So he was like, you could just crash in my suite. Like I have a suite, and then it's like, you know how suite is. You walk in, and it's like a little half room with a pull-out couch, and then he'd have his room,
Yeah.
which is fine. It's like great, I'll stay there. So I get, and it's like the W Hotel or something like that. It was super fancy. I showed up, and I'm just like sweating because again, it's like 100 degrees out, and shorts and a t-shirt, and it's this really fancy hotel I wasn't expecting. But Todd had told me, he's like, look, I'm going to be at the club already. I'm just going to leave a key at the desk. Just give him your name, tell him you're staying with me, and then you can go up and get changed for the show, and you can even hang out for a few hours. So it's like great. So I get up there, and it's this beautiful suite, like L-shaped living room. It's not like your regular suite. It's gorgeous.
Sure.
He even there was a fruit tray out on the table. Like I was like, this is amazing. So I knew he wasn't coming back or anything like that, or nobody was coming in. So I was just like, I'm not gonna get changed yet, but I'm just like sweaty. So I was in my boxers, and I just like sat on the couch for like 2 hours watching TV, eating this fruit tray. And then I was like, okay, I better get dressed now, get ready for the show. So I go into his bedroom closet to get the ironing board because it's like I had a suit and I was gonna like press and everything. And I realized that I look in and he's got a bunch of suits. And we're there for like 48 hours.
Okay.
But he brought a bunch of suits. I was like, that's weird. And then there was a bunch of ladies' dresses. And I'm like, why? Why is this here? And then I look down at the floor where the suitcase was, and I look on his name tag, and it said from Springfield, Illinois, Robert and Carol Chandley. Because I gave the guy my name. I was like, hi, my name's Chip
Oh,
Chantry. I'm staying with Todd Glass. He left a thing. He's like, thank you. Okay, Mr. Chandley. And he was like kind of a dick to me. And he was like just, and he wasn't paying attention to me.
yeah.
So he thought that I was
Clearly
the Chandley. I was half naked in another person's hotel suite for like 2 hours. And
eating
I
their
ate
fruit.
eating their fruit. Like they could have walked in at any point. Like, you know how when you wake up, you have like a dream and there's like a naked man there and is about to like I was the naked man. Like they could have shot me
Yo,
and been right. Do you know what I mean?
justified.
Like
Justified.
justified. They
Right
would
to
have
carry.
so I realized this and the doorknob turns.
No.
I was like, and literally she was like housekeeping. I was like, thank God. I was like, no, we're good. We're good. And I threw my clothes on, grabbed my stuff, and ran down to the front desk and was like, dude, you gave me the wrong. And like he knew he was wrong right away, but tried to downplay. He was like, oh, yes, well, I'll get here's the right thing. And I was like, fuck you, dude.
Yeah.
And I was like, I could have been murdered. So I went up and it was just a regular
Yeah.
old hotel suite. But luckily I got out with my life with that
Do
one.
you think that those people showed up later and were like, who did
Oh, there
housekeeping
was
eat the
definitely
fruit tray? Like,
because it was kind of disheveled because like I definitely had some stuff out that I didn't leave anything behind, but like there was definitely stuff moved around and their fruit tray is half eaten at this
yeah,
point.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like, who ate all
Yeah.
the pineapple?
Hmm. Of course. Yeah.
That's so and it makes sense because like Todd, I actually hung out with him and I know he always brings the different band members. Like he
Yeah.
gets different band members.
It's always so much fun.
I forget if Blake was opening for him or whoever.
He does a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was like me. I think it was him and Shane O'Connor and Todd was like, "All right, you guys want to go back to the hotel room and hang out?" And we were like, got an apple at Wawa because he wanted to smoke weed out of an apple.
Of course. Yep.
And so I was thinking like, oh, he got a fruit tray as you're telling me this story. Like he wants the apple off there.
Nope. Not at all. Not at all.
And I not to air Todd's business out on here, but I just remembered we showed up and he came down in the elevator with no shoes on or socks to greet
Yeah,
us.
that sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just like, all right, this is wild.
That's great.
But he
Oh,
did
that's
have a
so fun.
nicer suite. But that's so that feeling. I cut my heart went into my stomach real quick when you said like the doorknob turned
Yeah.
because you're like you just found out like oh shit
I'm
Chantry oh he fucked
trespassing
up and did you're
in my
trespassing
underwear.
you broke into someone's hotel room you're
Hmm.
stalking them technically they could have
Yes. I could have earned a merit badge for
like
this.
whatever show or whatever they were performing in or
Hmm.
politics thing or who knows
Yes.
you're just
Yes.
butthole asshole on their couch
Uh-huh. Yeah. I
eating
mean,
their
what if they
fruit
walked in? I'm just laying on the couch, be like, "What's
that
up, guys?" Yeah.
just naked
Hmm.
as a jaybird, just
Come on in.
eating like a Greek god, just eating grapes
Yep.
or whatever. Like, hey, you want to feed me some of these?
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
wow. Okay. This has been so much fun. Tell the people where they can find you at besides Helium next week, because this won't be out for a month or whatever. So
Okay. Yeah. But find me at Chip Chantry, just ChipChantry on all of the things: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I got a podcast with I know one of your most recent guests, James Heskey.
James.
James and I have a podcast called A Dangerous Thing, which we're switching. We're actually doing a bunch of TikTok videos in lieu of some podcast episodes. So you can find me on TikTok at Chip Chantry or A Dangerous Thing with me and Heskey, where we're gonna post like fun videos that we kind of give like information. We kind of teach something, but we try to make it funny. So
I did
that's where you
see
can
one of
find me.
those. I saw one of those very funny. I will put all that in the description.
Thank you.
And Chip is one of the funniest people in Philly. It was so good
Uh,
having you today.
Thank you. Thank you. This is so much fun. This is a
Yeah.
blast. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Have some weird stuff happen to you when you meet up with Todd again, and then we'll get you back on
Hopefully,
here.
and then I'll tell that story.
And we're gonna make a Jello cake and have an episode, a Patreon.
Yes.
Once I start my Patreon, we're gonna have a
Yes.
Jello cake and a butter board with
I'm
crackers
in.
and have a
I'm in.
feast.
And
Okay.
just yes.
All
Yeah.
right.
Our cholesterol will shoot up. Yep.
All right. Thanks.